With the McCullough issue, I mean, I just find it
No progress whatsoever.
mind-boggling that this country is still facing these issues today.
I find it mind-boggling that we don't have a federal indictment. The feds have not stepped in to move forward with the case as of yet. And I say that because just here the other night, O'Donnell,
I believe it was
Lawrence O'Donnell reported that they purposely misled the grand jury with a false statute that said
unconstitutional document
statute that said that police officers are allowed to shoot fleeing suspects. It was struck down in 1985, but they distribute copies of this unconstitutional statute to all of the members of the grand jury in their instructions, and then tried to withdraw it at the end. But never pointed out what part of the statute was struck down.
When is the last time you've heard of a defendant who is allowed access to all the evidence against him and then he's interviewed by a grand jury? After he's had a chance to see all the evidence and all the eyewitnesses against him.
Exactly.
That's justice? That's an adversarial system where the prosecutor is representing the community?
Well, it's not due process.
The prosecutor doesn't represent this community in any way, shape, or form. He should have recused himself, or he should have been replaced by the governor. The governor of Missouri is a gutless individual, absolutely gutless. And the worst of it is, I actually contributed to his election. I came from Springfield to help Obama get elected down here in 2008 because he was going to carry Illinois. So inadvertently, Nixon was part of the ticket, so I inadvertently helped him. But he's the most gutless individual. I'm just disgusted, really am. I mean, I'm very angry about this.
Well, and so am I, and I think it's a righteous indignation is justified. But do you think that there is likely or unlikely that Barack Obama or Attorney General Eric Holder would do something about this?
The federal process is a slow one, but unless there is continual pressure, and I'm not advocating any more burning of cop cars, although my heart doesn't bleed for the car, but there needs to be continual demonstrations, and to be honest with you, I'm disgusted with the fact that the police here have closed down Florissant Drive, or whatever it's, Florissant Avenue. I don't understand what right they have to close it down to pedestrian traffic. We had a tough time finding this spot, and I think they're just inhibiting, in my
peaceful
opinion,
demonstration.
Exactly, and there should be continual demonstrations across the country until we really get some major action.
I want to thank you, sir. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess you got a little emotional.
No, that's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful. Like John Brown, and he had his son. It's beautiful.
Well, there's an interesting story.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that I stood in the middle of the road for about 10 minutes with my hand on the pavement where the dark stain was, where Michael Brown bled out, and I'm thinking of my sons, and I'm thinking, by pure chance of whatever, I'm not black and they're not black, but that could have been one of my sons there. And I'm thinking, I'll tell you something else about the McCullough episode. Okay, so we get the police captain finally releasing the name of the officer, right? Mm-hmm. After
4 weeks.
Weeks? 4 weeks? Okay,
just to get the name.
3 or 4 weeks anyway, of not announcing that, but finally announces it, and just before we get the name, then you have the Mike Brown.
Oh, and then they release it with a video,
right?
Which is total.
But then the cop, the police chief of Ferguson says that, but Darrell Wilson wasn't aware of that previous episode. But then Darrell Wilson testifies that he got the description. But I also know this, that when he pulled into the road, when Wilson pulled into the road to stop the car, to stop the two guys walking in Middle Street, he said something to the effect, get the fuck off the middle of the road, or get the fuck off on the
situation.
Well,
could have been easily de-escalated.
What right now? Let me ask you this, just using common sense, and you can maybe ask some other person and videotape this or something. But if you're a cop, right, and there's two young black men. Right? One of them, obviously, a pretty big kid. Number one, what gives you the right to use that word? You're a public servant. I mean, you talk about, but if he's a suspect in a robbery, you're going to use that word and tell him to get off the street? If they're a suspect, you know, he says he saw the cigar. Does that make sense to you?
That series of events right there, he deserved an indictment, at least a question.
Of course I would have stopped him.
Why?
It's got to be a public process. Everybody can see.
I'm sorry.
There's no transparency whatsoever.
But it doesn't even make sense. It defies logic. These guys, they're lying. They're lying.
Simply put, they're lying.
Well, you know, and to me, when public officials do that, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that they can be that inept. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, a police chief, I mean, he's gone through the ranks, presumably. You know, and I don't want to come across here as some kind of a tourist either, but bottom line is, personally, this needs to be a watershed experience. So I want my sons to, well, I know they're both politically active and they're very liberal. Unfortunately, there.
Yeah, I like to think you had something to do with that.
Yeah, probably, maybe. But actually, I finally caught up to my oldest son over there. He's been extreme liberal. Eric and I actually were always liberal, but he was the one that was kind of in the extreme.
Oh, he pulled you along, kicking and screaming?
Well, let me just put it this way: I recognized a little late that this whole business in Iraq was a terrible mistake.
Oh,
you know? And he was on top of that right away in a major way. I think even Eric.
I think,
but this one we saw right away that this is
from the get-go. It's been mishandled, and it's been.
Well, you just don't kill young people. Well, you don't kill.
You know.
You just don't.
And how they justify it is saying that, you know, the guy